Welcome to the Storage Room, where imagination meets unfiltered conversation. On tonight's show, we've got Brad Bachmann and Nate Holdener. What's up, guys?
What's up, Jeff?
How's it going?
Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you guys too. It has been a while. You know, y'all don't come out in public very often, so it's great to have y'all out.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having us on, Dad.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, where just for the people who don't know, if you were to step outside that area that we always see you bagging in, what's the landscape out there like?
The first thing you'll see is Mount Rainier. It's the most beautiful mountain you've ever seen.
Mount Rainier and rain. Up here in Washington, we get a lot of rain, of course.
And trees.
But
trees.
No, it really is beautiful country, though. I mean,
we're right up in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains. And yeah, it's really beautiful. We're like 15 minutes away from old growth forest where you got trees that are 6 feet across.
That's awesome.
Old growth trees that are hundreds of years old.
You two are a bit of an oddity in the sense that it's rare to have two guys who've spent their career in speedbagging side by side. You know, so
yeah.
Prior to, what is y'all's relationship? Why is it that, you know, why did y'all start speedbagging together? Y'all related? Y'all friends? Y'all grow up together? You know, what was it like for you two kind of before the speedbag?
Yeah, well, we're cousins, but we're cousins in the sense of like fifth cousins or something like that. That story's kind of actually pretty interesting. Your great grandfather married my great grandmother years and years ago. So we're Swiss.
No, actually, my great grandfather is his great grandmother's brother.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Okay.
So that's how. And my great grandfather and his great grandmother were brother and sisters, and they came over from Switzerland, sponsored by who ended up being his great grandfather.
Wow.
That's how my family got over here from Switzerland.
Yeah. And then made it all the way over to Washington.
So,
yeah, exactly. They started it, and they were all dairy farmers.
Okay.
Yeah, we come from a long line of farmers, dairy farmers, and whatnot. But it's pretty interesting. But Brad and I didn't know each other until 8th grade, going into 9th grade.
Yeah,
we were on the same rec basketball league,
summer basketball.
Yeah, and that was the first time we ever met. And then we played basketball and all that. And I remember going home and talking to my mom saying, yeah, there's this guy, Brad Bachmann. He's really cool, yada, yada. And she's like, Bachmann, huh? Yeah, Bachmann. Yeah, you're related to Bachmann. And she told the whole story, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, shit. So then the next time I seen him, I'm like, Brad, bro, we're cousins, man. So in a way, we're not cousins, I think, but, you know.
There is some blood there. There's definitely, you know.
And we do have there is a connection there. But
for sure,
there's a story, too, where, so my great-grandmother, and on the day that her husband died, so that would have been your grandfather's great-grandfather's brother, died. On the day of the funeral, she was going to the funeral and got in a car accident and then died also on the day of his funeral. It was it's kind of a creepy story that's been told through my family and all that. So that was the next thing that my mom had said, oh yeah, you're related, and then told that story to me. And I was like, man, that's kind of creepy.
And there was a bunch of kids actually that had to get all split up because there was like 6 or 7 kids that
wow.
Yeah, so we both come from big family. You know, it's a big,
dairy farmers have a lot of kids.
Right.
Gotta have kids to run the farm. You know?
Right. So y'all meet in 8th grade, right? And y'all maintain being friends up through high school and everything?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty close. I mean, we had mutual friends and whatnot. I was, Brad played basketball, I played football and wrestled and baseball and soccer, all that bullshit. And then you had friends that were a little different than my friend group, and then it wasn't until high school math class or something we had together.
High school math.
Remember that?
Trigonometry.
Yeah, and we just
acted like fools and
clowned around, and it was the funnest class. It was the funnest class that I'd ever been in.
Oh, for sure.
Trigonometry was the funnest class. I mean, that's not something you normally
We
hear.
didn't do much trigonometry.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it was fun.
And the teacher was cool. Like she let us do whatever we wanted to do.
Yeah, it was. So that was probably the beginning of our relationship, and then
that's when we got to probably be better friends in that class.
And then Brad ended up changing high schools. What year? When was that? Junior?
That year, dude. Yeah.
Right in the middle of the math class. In fact, it was him. We had a couple other buddies that were in that class, and everybody. So him, and then the two other friends we had left. So I'm sitting in the math class by myself at the end of it. Going, man, and then
the two other kids got kicked out because they weren't getting high enough grades.
Yeah.
And so the teacher's like, "You're out of here." And it was just me and Nate. And then like a couple weeks later, I left because of the basketball coach.
Yeah,
and I went to Riverside.
So he ended up. Yeah, that was at Sumner High School.
I had a disagreement with the basketball coach.
Right.
I had one with the soccer coach. I understand.
Switched high schools.
Yep.
It was only like 8 miles down the road, but
Right. So we went our junior and senior year, the rest of our junior year, and just kind of split off because back then there were cell phones and all that. We never really, kept in touch at all. And then, so then we both graduated. I graduated from Sumner and graduated from Auburn Riverside. And then, man, when was it that we reconnected again? Probably a few years, because then I went to college. I went to college at PLU for a year, and then I ended up dropping out of that school. I got a PhD in partying, pretty much is what I like to say.
That's what kind of brought us back together again, this party.
Yeah, we met at a party or something like that back then. I mean, like, holy shit, Brad, what's up? What's going on? And then kind of reconnected from there and never really separated again, you know what I mean?
But,
So, how old were you when the bag came around?
So that was 2014, 2015.
So it would have been like 33 for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it'd been a minute since high school. You didn't just like roll out of high school and you're like, bam, right on the bag. Y'all been working and living life for a while, and about 33 years old, you're like, hey, Mr. Speedbag, we're gonna become friends.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Nate can tell you that.
Yeah. So the story goes, I was, like I was saying, I wrestled and did a little bit of judo for a few years, and then like very little jujitsu, and I always kind of fancied myself like a tough guy or whatever. But just high school fights and whatnot. But being a wrestler, you're tough, And but never trained in any kind of boxing or any kind of
martial arts.
Like punching kind of whatever. But I had this kid, a buddy of mine, who was saying, who knew this guy named Boom, who was
supposedly
he was a Golden Glove champ from Alaska, a big Samoan dude. I actually never met the Samoan guy, but my buddy took me to his house, and he's like, "You want to go train and do some boxing?" I was like, "Yeah, man, for sure." And we pulled up to the house, and we went to his backyard, and it was all dark. And I remember he plugged in a light, and then a light came on, and it was like, boom, there's a speed bag in the middle. He had a heavy bag on the right, and I think a double end bag on the left side. And immediately he walked up to the speed bag and started hitting the 1, 2, 3s or the basic rhythm. You know what I mean? It was started out kind of slow. Dun 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 dun. I was like, man, that's so sick. I'm like, get out of the way, let me try this. And I walked up to the bag, and I tried for about 5 minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes of hitting it, and I maybe was able to hit it a couple times, maybe not. But then after that, I was like, I gotta show Brad this. This is something that I know that he was gonna like, because we were always like, you know, fancied ourselves coordinated people and like always would do
Right.
things,
Both
you know.
basketball players. You do, yeah. I mean, Brad's going to some other school for basketball.
Just
I mean,
athletics, in general.
Just athletic people in general, yeah, for sure.
yeah.
But
It's not as easy as you would think. You're watching this other person do it so effortless. You're like, oh, that's got to be easy, and you're like, oh,
that's the thing. He did. He made it look pretty easy. You know, I never really seen anybody. Of course, you see like the Ollie videos and Rocky and whatnot, but never even had seen a Speedbag with my own eyes. You know what I mean? And I thought for sure I was going to be able to do it. You know, he did. He made it look effortless. You know, but looking back or thinking back now, you know, he wasn't that good, really. You know, he just was able to keep it going for a second, you know, and then change this
just straight triple beat,
right? Just a triple beat, you know, and then
nothing fancy.
And we'd go. He started slow, and then boom, boom, and he started getting faster. And as he went faster, my blood started rising. Like, dude, this is fucking sick. This is sick. This is sick. Well, wham! And I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I gotta try it. You know, and then
probably a really shitty setup too.
Oh yeah, it was. It was. I mean, I don't remember what the bag was or anything like that, but it was outside in Washington. You know what I mean? So
the bags can get fucked up pretty.
But the guy that you know, the guy whose setup it was, Boom, was his name, his nickname.
Yeah,
that's all we ever knew him by.
Right. You could tell. I mean, it was a functional setup, though, you know, and you could see that the heavy bag was just murdered on. Like he'd been fucking beating that thing up forever. In the speed bag was functional, you know, like it wasn't flat. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It worked, and it wasn't like it wasn't. You know, it was better than any of our first setups that we had forever. It wasn't like an Everlast bag. It could have been, but you know what I mean?
I don't think it was, because I'd been to the house a couple times before that, and I saw that setup, but it never intrigued me because I never saw anybody hit on it.
Right. It's different when you don't, if you're just seeing the setup there hanging, you know, okay, whatever. But
I've seen one of those before.
When you see somebody rocking that thing, you know, it gets your blood going, you know. It's a whole nother draw, but that's nothing compared to what we'll get into eventually here, you know.
And that's the thing. You go from, this is your first time. I mean, we've all seen them, and the thing is about the Speedbag, for something that's such an iconic, we have all seen it. We know what it is, but we haven't all been exposed to them. You know, I wish that I'd been exposed to one much younger in life, because I would have definitely been intrigued with it the same way I am now. I just never had one to, you know, just hanging around. You know, so you go home and tell Brad, right? Like you try to do this thing and you're like, I gotta tell Brad.
Yeah, for sure. And it wasn't just telling Brad, it was we got it. I think it was the next day probably. I mean, in my memory, thinking back, it was the next day that we went and picked up. I mean, we made the platform right away, but we had to go pick up a swivel and an Everlast bag from the sporting goods store, you know, and then
cut out the platform out of MDF, because that was what was in the shop.
Like 1 inch, 3/4 inch,
just 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch. Start off, it was just that, and then we just had one 3/4 inch thick, and we hung it by ropes. Ropes are
chains. I think it was one of the. No, I think it was ropes.
I think it was ropes too. We hung that from the ceiling.
So like a disc.
Yeah,
hanging from the ceiling, and it's got ropes.
Yeah,
just like like a cable stay. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You gotta understand. We had no idea what we were doing, obviously, right? So.
That's creative as hell, man. I mean, that's.
Yeah,
I can see it.
And back then, there weren't like videos of like, you know, how to set up or really good setups or whatever. It was just. Yeah, I don't think we even looked.
We'd never been online to look at people's setups or anything like that.
We were just figuring it out.
Right. We just were going along trying to do this on our own. That's how we did everything, though. You know, by this time we'd worked together doing construction, you know, like doing all kinds of projects. You know, I don't know if we were into chainsaw.
Oh yeah.
Stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We might have been
Definitely in the chainsaw.
And so, but we would do everything ourselves, right? So we set this up with ropes hanging, and right away, as soon as we got the bag hanging, the first couple of hits we did, we knew it wasn't gonna work.
Knuckle buster, dude.
Oh, I
Start
bet.
going, and that you get that bag going a little bit. I remember just messing my knuckles up on that thing, on that edge, and I didn't have tape around it or anything at first. It just, man, it messed my knuckles up really bad. So then I think I made a second disc. So then from 3/4, it went to 1.5 inches, just to give it a little more weight. And then I think we took ropes and attached them to the sides and strung it to the walls and attached it to the walls to kind of keep it more stable.
Right.
And it did get a little bit more stable, but not enough. And you start to get that thing going a little bit, and it would just get out of control.
I think the reason why we chose to just hang it from ropes was, one, because it was quick and easy,
temporary.
But number two, it was also, we were in his dad's house underneath in the basement, basically. So we didn't want to be pounding away, thinking,
the vibration,
the vibration making the noise. So we were thinking two things at once there, but.
It's brilliant. I imagine you're probably of a very, very small group of people that's ever done a speed bag to where it's a suspension speed bag. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, right. And it doesn't work
that's
that
awesome.
well.
It doesn't work that well.
No.
It could. I think that if you had the right things, I used to do a lot of cable work around railings and stuff when we used to build houses. I think if you had the right stuff, it's just the right stuff is going to cost a ton of money.
Yeah, and we weren't into spending money on anything back then.
Exactly.
Right. I'm not into it now.
Whatever's in the shop, that's what we're building it out.
Right.
So the next thing was, because that obviously wasn't working, we ended up stacking 35 or 45 pound weights that we had sitting around on top of that setup, which stabilized it just a little bit more to where we could start getting it going a little bit. But I still don't want to say that we were ever able to do anything with that at all, besides just wanting more. Wanting more.
And then I was just like, forget it, dude. I just built one off of the wall.
Yeah, ended up just.
And the ceiling. Actually, it came down from the ceiling.
So
I welded something together. I can't remember exactly. It's still in there.
The once you get something mounted on the wall, is that when y'all come across some of the Santiago videos that really kind of help? Because at this point, all is the triple beat, right? That y'all are just working triple beat for the most part.
So when I first started hitting the speed bag, I think I'd probably seen Skunk hitting the speed bag, and I just wanted to go as fast as I could. I thought that was so. Forever, when I say forever, I don't know exactly. It was probably a few months at least that I just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just over and over again, and just never getting past 4 hits. Just trying to go as fast as I could. I get it going, and then just try to keep speeding up, and just never get anywhere. And Nate would make fun of me.
So right about that same time was at my house where I was staying at that time. I ended up buying a freestanding setup with the heavy bag combo with the speed bag on the other side, and I was hitting on that setup for a while, which that one I believe the setup came with a ball hook swivel instead of the U-bolt swivel.
That plastic one. Yeah.
Right. A plastic one, right. And at that time, that one for me was that was so difficult to hit on that, especially learning, looking back, it's that was a decent setup, but at that time, this is no good. This isn't the setup. So,
using the U-bolt.
Right. So I'm struggling over at my house with that thing at first. And plus that platform on that freestanding setup is the same 3/4 inch crappy, thin particle board, drum, if you want to call it a drum.
Right.
So that joke.
Or like a top hat.
But I couldn't go. So he was on that.
Very impractical.
He got into that stable setup that he bolted into the wall, where I'm on the freestanding still, on that platform with that with that ball hook swivel, struggling myself, you know what I mean? Just trying to go. But I think that really forced me to go slower and just start to try to go steady and just try to get a consistency a little bit, you know. And that's kind of where we started when we went our set when we would separate, you know. And then so when I would come back or come over to his house and hit on and see him hitting, he's going 100 miles an hour messing up, go 100 miles an hour messing up, and I'm going slower, you know what I mean, but keeping it going. You know, I wouldn't say I ever made fun of him because that's
I say like teasing me probably.
It was still
Yes.
great.
That's all. Like,
and it came back around where, you know, that kind of caught up with you going so fast to where you caught up with it and you were able to keep continuing going fast, you know what I mean? And then I kind of had to work on my speed to get faster. You know, I was consistent enough, but not fast, you know what I mean? So we ended up kind of coming back around that way and then meeting in the middle a little bit.
It does end up benefiting you a little bit, you know, as you get better and you start to learn other moves. The speed is kind of already there.
Oh,
even
yeah.
though it was struggled with it forever.
But I still want to
Seems like
say,
forever.
I still want to say we weren't even linking the bag yet at that point until, you know what I mean? That was all basic rhythm still.
Because when with talking with Skunk, he was talking about that for the longest time, most everybody was still doing your traditional, mostly boxing style. Every now and then there was a little bit of linking and stuff, but it wasn't all the moves that are being you see all these guys doing now. I mean, so you're getting to the point where y'all are getting good, you're getting better.
Getting more comfortable with the bag, yeah.
So then you start seeing Santiago's video, right? And start.
I think we started to look on YouTube for
Which it was the video that you guys come across. It was from Joe Saba, right? It was from Zaza Films.
Art of the Bag, I believe it was in Art of the Bag.
Yeah, it was a part of that.
But it was the full clip of Matthew Santiago hitting the title platinum 5 to a song called Spectrum. And that blew our minds. I mean, it was after that, it was okay, we got to figure out how to do this now. This is,
I mean, that was our first introduction to punch drumming also, because Matt is, you know, I call him the goat of punch drumming. You know, I call Alan the king, and I call
the Godfather
or the Godfather, and then I call him, me personally, I consider him the goat of punch drumming, and then you have Zach, who's just the goat of everything Speedbag in general. You know what I mean? But
speed and just control, just
transitions, but Zach or Matt was amazing though. Speedbag had those videos, that Spectrum video, the Netsky video. I mean, he had several that were out there that were incredible.
I think the Spectrum one is me and Nate were working on a job at Red Cross in Tacoma, Washington, and we get to the job and we sit in the parking lot I remember just sitting there for at least an hour, like every time we go to work, and just watch that video over and over again, just wondering what is he doing and how can we figure out how to do this? How can we do this? We got to figure out how to do this.
Even when you slow it down, even when you take it down to 25% speed, you know, it's still a lot to take in. You know, if you're not used to those movements, when you're sitting there watching, you're like, yeah, I see what's going on, but I don't know how to make it happen.
I don't even know if YouTube had that feature back when we were watching it.
Really?
I mean,
if they did, we didn't know about it because all we ever did was watch it at full speed.
Over and over and over and over again. And that was just Matt too. I mean, like I was saying, there's other people too. In fact, you remember, this is kind of funny. You remember Speedbag scissor hands.
Yeah.
And I hate bringing him up because I don't know what the deal is with him, because I thought he was just part of the community and everything. It wasn't until later that we had learned that he was.
I think he was part of the community.
Yeah, he was. There was videos of him at the Speedbag events, like, and he would. It was like every time we'd see a video of Zach or Speedbag Skunk,
right,
you would see him like
in the background.
Right, he'd be in the background, like, you know, it's
like he didn't really fit in with the Speedbagger community. It seemed like
sniping the videos, you know. He would always be trying to like sneak into Zach's videos and whatnot. But no, his videos were pretty. I thought they were pretty incredible with what he's doing, especially at that time.
As far as speed goes, absolutely,
he was super fast.
Impressive.
He's fast. He's fast.
You know, he might get a lot of hate. I mean, I don't know if you guys talk to him or if anybody talks to him or has, or if he's been around or anything. But
he's never talked to me.
He doesn't really affiliate himself.
I messaged him a few times right when I first got into it and was getting into the stuff, and all the him being part of the community was before me being here, and I tried talking to him once, twice, and then, you know, if you don't respond, I just move on. You know,
it was before us too. We never met him.
Okay.
Yeah, we never met him.
No, but I do remember.
Camp Scissorhands.
Yeah, I remember when we were gonna go to when we were gonna. He got a hold of Alan Cahn, which we could get into eventually too, but. And we were thinking we were gonna go to. We're invited basically to the next Speedbag event. We were like, man, wouldn't that be so cool if we got invited to the Camp Scissor? And here we are hanging out with Speedbag Scissorhands. And it was so funny. But we also did know that he was kind of a clown too, like, just because the way he'd like run up to the bag and you'd have like helicopters coming in, like he had them edited and all that
CGI.
Yeah.
I had never seen it.
Oh, you never seen the helicopter ones? Videos?
Because he would run up to the bag and hit super fast, blah, 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 and then run out. He would like run out of the video or whatever.
He had that big like circle mural of him in the background. Like
I had seen that. I had seen that. Yeah.
So, you know,
so we envision that maybe like how cool would that be?
But it would be cool to meet him nonetheless, you know, just because someone that you see so much in videos, it's always incredible.
And little did we know how much cooler it ended up being with the people who did meet and all that, for sure.
So how long you start watching Santiago's video? You start at this point. When you go from Santiago's first time when you're working at that job site to the point where the video that you posted in 2019, it was like August of 2019, and you didn't post again till August of 2020. Brad, I'm talking to you on Instagram. Well, so that was where you had the Tyvek set up, and you had like it looked like a table from a bar top or something, like, or a restaurant, you know, table that you just had mounted on the ceiling type looking thing.
Right. So actually,
if
you go on YouTube, I was looking. My first video is from 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be like what, 2017.
Well, that would be the first video you posted.
Yeah, and that video was in my garage. But then the next one was in the tent.
So let's back up then. Let's go. So when I was at my house on that freestanding setup, I was, you know, not doing well with the 3/4 inch drum that was on that setup. So I'm looking around because he had his bolted up to the house and had made maybe the maple setup or something like that. Yeah. And it was way more solid. I'm like, man, I'm freestanding. How can I get this more solid? And that's when I was looking around going, and I seen behind me a glue lamp beam that was used as like a step out of the garage into the house or something.
Explain to people what a glue lamp.
So a glue lamp beam is just it's like a bunch of laminated boards,
like 2x4s or 2x6s,
all glued together
and then pressed, and it's a structural beam used for building
long spans.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
just
exposed.
Headers.
Headers.
And so it's just like a 4-foot chunk laying on the ground. Or there's 2 chunks. That's what it was. One, I was like 3 foot or whatever. And another that was like 2 foot. So I ended up, but it wasn't wide enough. It wasn't tall enough or whatever to make a full drum. So I ended up cutting up the smaller piece, and I cut that in half and then attached it to one side and attached the other piece to the other side. And then took a Sawzall and cut out a circle out of it. So the Sawzall sanded it down for hours, just trying to get it to somewhat of a circle, you know. And I had some epoxy that was out of this snowboard repair kit that I had. It wasn't, I don't even know if it was the right
shine on that drum was amazing. I always wondered because it was like glass.
Right. It was that was for repairing snowboards or skis that I had laying around from snowboarding all those years, and it just was there. So I put it on it just for a lamination, you know what I mean? That's just what I had. So I threw that on there and then lifted that thing up, and somehow I had to do some restructuring of how because normally that setup just has like a bar that comes over with like a little piece about that wide.
Little thin piece of metal.
Right. And so I took another piece of, it was like square tubing or something like that. That was about maybe 2 feet wide or 16 inches wider, and then had attached that to the top and attached that to that piece, and then got that thing up there and then put a setup on that. And I think by that time I had bought a U-bolt setup and got rid of that ball hook swivel. And so now I have that set up with that glulam beam sitting up there, and it was a lot better, but it still would shake, you know.
If you got going fast,
once you get going, right, it would still shake a little bit. So then from there, I attached it to the ceiling of the garage, had a post come down, and then it was stable. You know, I just needed one kicker off of that, and it stabilized it, and then that was it for me. I started getting pretty smooth, but then because we still were rotating through Everlast bag after Everlast shit bags that would just fall apart and were crappy.
Went through so many Everlast bags. There's a little tag on the bottom of the bags that I would rip off, and I put it up on the mirror when I would wear one out. Yeah, like gravestones for the bags, and then I had like 4 or 5 of them up on the mirror.
So Brad ends up getting online and was looking at the title.
It was from watching Matt's videos.
Okay, so yeah, that's right. So Matt had the platinum.
Yeah.
The
5x7
platinum. And I don't know if we've seen a video or where we decided to get it from, but I decided I was going to take a chance with the 5x8 Blackie. You know,
I think we've seen videos of that one.
Yeah, we've probably seen a video, but that one was like $100 for that bag. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to take a chance on that. And then when I got that bag, it was so smooth. So you had the platinum
and the genuine 6x9.
Yeah,
titled Genuine Leather.
Yeah,
it was called.
But I remember you didn't like either one of them. You were like, these are crap.
Well,
still kind of hitting
the 6x9 leather one was a little heavy and not as bouncy, and the platinum was just so light and just fast.
So for a long time, I don't know how long it actually was, but for a while I had that black bag set up, and man, I just remember that was the best bag I thought ever of all time. I thought, man, that 5x8 Blackie is another.
That's how you started getting good.
Yeah, right. So that was like the first time I actually. So by this time we were linking. I think we figured out some of the Speedbag Bible stuff, like the double side punch or side double punch, whatever it's called. And
yeah, definitely learned that from Alan, doing a video teaching how to do that.
Right. So we started getting into that, doing some of those moves, you know, but we still had the U-bolt set up. And, you know, if you're going forward and back, doing 1s and 2s and or whatever, and linking back and forth is fine. But once
it works.
It works, but once you start trying to do like side hits or double side punch or any of that, then that U-bolt wants to jerk over and
it'll catch.
It made it hard, you know.
If you're going straight forward and back, and then you just go a perpendicular hit, it catches almost. You can catch it almost every time, and it messes up the swing.
So we were at a little bit of a crossroads with that, but having that, I do remember having that Speedbag or that 5A Title Black was a, was
Game changer.
Yeah, for sure. Again, it was a game changer for sure. And I kept saying, Brad, you got to get this bag, man. Or I brought it over to hang up on his setup and be like, you got to hit this one, So I kind of went, he was here and then I was here with that setup, and then he, you know what I mean? We were playing those games, and then for that was a while, probably like a year or two. When was it? How long was it until I finally brought that setup and I actually moved out here?
Probably, I'd say a little over a year.
Yeah, so
between 1 and 2 years.
So then we moved
that's
back.
when the tent came around, right?
Yeah, right.
That's when the tent.
Right. So we moved.
See, and watching the videos, honest to God, I was like, oh, these guys set up a tent inside of like a shop so that they could heat it easier. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case though, right?
If only, yeah. No, it was a 10 by 20 wall tent we had set up, and I brought my freestanding setup over and into that wall tent. And it was great when it was summertime and it was warm out, but when it got cold out, you didn't want to hit in the cold for one, but the setup just doesn't work. The bags get deflate a little bit, so you're always trying to fill the bags up, whatever.
And we did a lot of hanging out in that tent anyways. That was kind of like...
Right. Your spot.
So
that was your storage room.
So I ended up getting my dad, at my dad's house, he had an old water tank.
Water pressure tank for a well.
Yeah, just a big, huge, tank sitting there. And he said I could have it. I'm like, okay. And I knew what I wanted to do with it. I brought it over and started cutting it up and started putting in like we call it a box.
First you had to drag the bladder out of it.
Yeah, pull the bladder out, cut the top off, welded on this big round tube to the top of it, and then put an exhaust out, cut a hole in the tent, and then ran it out. I had to put like sheet metal or something up there so it didn't melt the tent down, which it eventually did. It eventually did melt and burn. We burned almost half of that tent down at one point.
Oh,
but
yeah.
We made a fireplace. Yeah, we made a fireplace out of this tank that I had. And we just started pulling logs out of the woods, and cutting fire.
Because we were already into chainsawing, so like it just went right along with what we were doing.
And we chainsaw. We cut like burls off of maples and cutting maple slabs for like furniture and stuff like that. We were trying to get into making.
And anything we couldn't use for furniture would be used as firewood.
Dude, people do not realize how much wood it takes to keep a fire alive continuously. Like when you're, hey, today I want to be warm again. All right, well, you're going to need more fire. Hey, today I want to be warm again. You're going to need more fire. Like you're going to need more wood. It's
especially this one, the way that we had it. It had a big, huge burning.
Oh, so it breathed.
Yeah. It just was a Jimmy rigged fireplace.
A big air breather on the bottom, so it would really kick on.
Yeah, it burned way too inefficient. So we were burning way more wood than we needed to. But I ended up building like a
HVAC system on it.
No, it was like a secondary air chamber that was around the chimney, the flue going up, and with what are those fans? They're like a big squirrel cage fan that's for like a whole HVAC system in a house that I had laying around, and I hooked that up to the chamber that blew air out of the front of the top of that fireplace, basically directly at the bay and at the platform, and it actually heated that little tent up in there when it was 30.
Didn't matter how cold it was outside, as long as we had that thing glowing.
But we put probably, I want to say, 500 full-size trees through that fireplace
a lot
the whole time. I mean, that might be a little bit the core.
It's a lot.
No, I'm talking full-on trees.
I can believe it.
Every time I think about it, I think about how many like just full-size trees we shoved into that stupid thing.
A lot.
But it's probably an exaggeration. But nonetheless, it worked. You know what I mean? It did what it needed to do, and that's probably the first videos I think that we started to record.
That's where that I remember what I witnessed on Instagram was I had seen that video of Brad, the last one they posted for a while, and then when he came back and posted again, it was in the tent. And it was right about the time that he was doing the fist roll contest and stuff like that.
Okay.
You're pretty active for a minute, and that's when you were using your own custom made swivel, right? Like you were making your own swivels, correct?
Yeah.
So
because like where did you go back to the ball and hook? You were on a U hook. When did you go back to ball and hook? What made you make that switch?
When we got good enough to where it would really cause us enough problems, we couldn't do what we wanted to do when we were hitting the Speedbag. It would just it would bind up on itself, because I was really about, forward, back, and then side to side, like just being able to do that seamlessly and meet the bag right where it swings through the center point. And that with the U-bolt swivels, it doesn't work. Like like it will bind up on itself every time.
Right.
So
yeah, I had that ball hook swivel laying around somewhere from when I bought that original setup, but we never thought to put that one back on. Like that one kind of just got put away somewhere.
I think it was too long.
That carabiner was it's and even the eye hook that comes out of it, it's all of it just long.
Was really long.
But I don't even know if we even looked at it. We just went straight into making our own shit because we had, UHMW laying around.
Yeah. So in the shop.
Now, did y'all start making them before you went to the gathering? I mean, did you because y'all got a DeVille at one point in time. Y'all had a DeVille, right?
That was just for just to have one.
Collectors, just like a collector's. Yeah. No, I agree.
What do you mean?
I got you.
The DeVille's what we had. Yeah, I didn't get that till the last event we went to. I just finally got one. I didn't even know that she was making them out of UHMW. We didn't know that wasn't something we had around this UHMW, because that was Brad's idea to come up with, like, oh, this should be
because it's a good plastic that's pretty easily drilled into,
Yeah.
And I just got a step bit and drilled into it. But at first we were using stainless steel balls or steel ball bearings, and they would you get going on it, and the friction would build up, and the UHMW, as it starts to get warmer, it starts to lose its strength, and the ball would just fly out after. That happened to me. I must have made probably a dozen swivels, swivels, and the ball would just fly out every time.
After a little bit of time,
This is the UHMW. The back part is epoxy on that, but the white part, that's the UHMW that
it almost looks like a skateboard wheel.
It was one of the first ones we did that he was making, and then later on I ended up reusing that and then put epoxy in it. But that was one of the first ones that was laying around, because I ended up going back later on, and
I think we still have the original one. I just don't know where it's at.
There are some later, for sure.
And you made that in that drum to where you recessed the drum. You had a big hole in it so that thing could fit up in there, and you could have an even shorter action.
That's right.
You guys want it as close to the drum as you can. You want it to be able to just flick that thing around with the greatest of ease.
Okay, so at first, what do you call it? The hook, Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were using S hooks at first because that's all that we saw were people hitting with S hooks. And the thing about S hooks is the ball will fly off, and it happens more often than not. Right. We didn't want our speed bags flying off and falling on the floor of the tent because the tent was dirty on the floor.
Well, so you got to think about or realize this too, that it wasn't just a wall tent set up outside in the grass. I had actually built a floor out of pallets and then put sheathing over the top of it. So it was a decent floor.
And it had carpet in it.
And then carpet over the top of that. But it was outside wood shop where we were kind of
full of chainsaws and sharp things. So if the bag flew off, you ran risk of it getting popped.
There's bark and metal. There's all kinds of crap in that. If the camera was turned around on those videos, you would be amazed at how much crap.
What the hell are these guys hitting it?
But But yeah, it worked though. But
And I think we saw a video of Skunk hitting the Speedbag with a carabiner on it. And we started hitting with carabiners. So then we solved that problem of the S hook, which the S hooks are.
Oh, so it was Zach that came. I thought we came up with that, but he was, and then we ended up using carabiner. Yeah, because between the ball, that steel ball flying through the UHMW and then the S hooks, but we were banging out those S hooks all the time, and that was the thing. But they were flying off violently. I mean, how many mirrors did we break?
I broke my mirror like 3 or 4 times with the ball. Yeah, with the ball flying off and just smacking the mirror. It happened so many times that it just got ridiculous.
But you never got hit in the face with it or anything? Like you never
not with the steel ball. That always seemed to go away from me because it's when you're hitting it, it's like that's the most power is from the back, hitting it forward, and that's when it would always fly off. I don't ever remember it. It may have flew into my hands a couple times, but never hit me in the face. The steel ball never hit me in the face. I've been hit in the face plenty of times with the.
Yeah, and how many times it would fly off and then wham, you catch it because you start getting that coordination of being able to snatch it out of the air. I remember that happened.
Matrix.
Yeah,
that
happened a lot.
That would have also been about the same time that you got the Evo 13. That would have been when I sent that first Evo 13 to you, because I remember because I sent you a clear one and you could see right through it that y'all had to fill the drum in for it to set flush.
So let me step back real quick before we get to Evo.
Yeah.
We were always with the long setups that we're always out there with the carabiners were always longer. So the reason we recessed that because we always were trying to figure out. We always kind of knew that there was a problem with the length, with the bags being long, 6x9 bags and whatnot. We were always wanting to go shorter. For some reason, that was something we started, because you see Zach, you see Matt hitting on them, you see everybody hitting on those big bags. But for us, man, we started figuring out shorten that setup up. We started making S hooks that were super short, short as possible, just to try to get that tighten it faster, everything tighter, and that was a big thing for us. So we experimented by then recessing it into the platform.
Because that's how we did start off, always with a longer, we always called it a leash, but a longer hook, to where it's hanging way down from the bottom of the drum. Right. And it's just, you can only get so far with it like that. And the way that I wanted to hit, the way that I personally wanted to hit, it was hindering my ability to do what I wanted to do with the bag.
Yeah.
So that's why we recessed it, because we didn't know how. We weren't about shortening the hook. We were trying to recess it to get the length there.
Did the ball and hook come back into play before or after the gathering, y'all's first time to go to the gathering?
Oh, it was well before that.
Before.
Yeah. I think the first gathering we went to was 5 years ago. And the first video I made was 8 years ago.
Did we go to the same one together?
No.
You went the year before me, right?
Yeah.
So that was 2021 was my first year to go. So y'all didn't go 2020 because nobody did. So 2019 was your first year.
2019, yeah.
Okay. And so you'd been bagging for about 2 years.
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
And we probably had the ball hook for at least 2 years before we went to the gathering.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we first ordered those bags from Tidal, we ordered a U-bolt from there, also a Tidal U-bolt. I did, to put on mine, and that thing was even longer. The U-bolt on that Tidal U-bolt,
it's huge.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah,
and that's when we started going, man, these setups are just so long, man. We got to figure out our own setups, and that's what got us into started making the UHMW, and then it was later
on more control over it. Right. But like I said, we were using those steel ball bearings forever. Like, we made so many swivels because the minute one pulled through, it was done. Like,
did you
pull through again?
Were you drilling and tapping your own your own. That is so hard, isn't it?
Yeah, figuring out how much room to leave there on that edge,
Oh yeah, it's
absolutely. I know
it is not as easy as people think. It is. That's when I got into it. When I finally got manufacturers for my stuff, I was just like, oh my god, I don't have to drill out any more core balls.
Yeah, well, what's crazy is you would get going. Like some balls would just drill out, and then some you would start. Maybe it would be the drill bit wasn't sharp or something, but you would start in on it, and if it didn't start right away, if that hole didn't start drilling, I remember there was pretty much no chance because it was like a.
I don't know about the steel ball.
Yeah, the steel ball.
We were talking about the UHMW, I think.
No. I'm talking about the steel balls. Any core ball period. Any core ball period. Because
I got you.
I was drilled out Delrin, and mine were Delrin. There were a couple of times I tried drilling out stainless, the stainless steel, like what I have now. And I was like, nope, not even messing with that. It's like that's the mess for me. Like I'm not even doing that.
We went through hundreds of drill bits trying to get through those,
definitely,
and breaking them off in there too. But it seemed like some would just go in, some would go, and they would do well. But then some would. I don't know if it was the ball tempering or if it was the drill bits weren't good, and then you just couldn't even start to penetrate them. And then,
drilling the hole out in the UHMW, the UHMW part too, that's takes some trial and error too, because
how much to leave.
Yeah, how much to leave, and then we figured out if you bevel it from the front side, then you get better swing with the eye hook.
Right, because
we would drill from the back side and get our hole, and then bevel the front side so it would swing better, because we were all about getting the most swing that we could out of it.
The most swing with the shortest setup. So we inset those eye screws.
We were all about having it as free as we could possibly get it.
Oh
That's what
man,
it was all about.
I remember when you pop back up, because you definitely went from the first videos I saw of you was a very long hook, very long action, very long movements in your arms, and then the next video that shows up, was in the tent, and your everything was much shorter, and that was the first time that I saw Nate show up as well. I didn't even know who Nate was, but you were cool though, like in the sense that you were, as soon as you saw my messages, you messaged me back, and you were real receptive about. You were one of the first people that I was like, hey, this is my phone number. If you want to talk, hit me up. And you're like, cool, man. And we did that. And then we talked for like hours, just forever. And I loved it.
So you guys spoke before we met at the the thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. We talked quite a few times.
Yeah, see, Brad was always the one. So he was the one who ended up getting a hold of Alan Cahn one day, because we were watching all the videos, we'd seen all the videos, and then one day, Brad.
I felt like I was good enough to be able to contact the Godfather.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll never forget when he's like, "Hey, man, I got a hold of Alan Cahn, and he's a cool guy and wants to talk," and I was just like in disbelief, like, "Really? You're actually talking to the guy?"
And but you talk about how I responded to you. That's how Alan responded back to me. So it was kind of like, oh, that's how this works. We're a community, and I got that from Alan because he was so well receiving to me. I messaged him on Facebook, and he got back to me within probably an hour.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he'd seen my videos, but he'd seen them after I messaged him, and he was just like telling me, yeah, you're really good, and I'd like you to come out to New Jersey.
So you were posting videos on YouTube. I don't know. I might have posted a couple also, but I know you were.
I had a few videos.
But we hadn't gone to the event yet, and then you got a hold of Alan Cahn. He said, come to this event, and that was, what was that? That was 2018 or 19?
I think it was 18, but it could be
maybe 19. But when we went out there, it was the same thing that you're saying too. Everybody that, one of the first people we met obviously was Alan at the hotel, which was.
So how was it that you got a hold of Alan again?
So I messaged him on Facebook, and he got right back to me within an hour, probably.
Yeah.
And I think he had watched some of my videos, and he was like, "Man, you're a really great bagger. You should come." And I think I asked him if the Speedbag event was still going on, if they still did that or not. And he's like, "Yeah, you should come this year." And I was like, "All right, yeah, I'll come." In a way, he was just always very, very kind and open and just very nice.
Unreal helpful.
Yeah, and just like come to New Jersey and let's bag.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh man, you speaking my language, I am totally down.
Yeah.
And so I think I contacted him in January, and it's July when you go. So I knew about 6 months before that we were going. And I told Nate, Nate, I got a hold of Alan Cahn. And I don't even know if you believed it at first, but
yeah, no, I didn't. I mean, I know you weren't lying to me, but I was just like in disbelief. You know what I mean? Like,
because I didn't tell him I was going to contact Alan. I just did it on my own. And it's like, just want to contact him, see if I get a message back.
yeah.
So and Alan is when I talked to him the first time about going to the gathering, he's like, you need to call and talk to Nancy, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. Like it's like he has a cheat sheet just broken down of all the things that he's going to tell you, and you got to take the shuttle from this on this time, and you know.
That's a big thing, getting through the Newark airport, just having to know what the blue bus, however that maze is to get through there.
It's
if you
insane.
didn't know, it would take you hours of extra time to try to navigate to get to Hazlitt.
Yeah.
Because it's, yeah.
So Alan invites you. You convince Nate that this is real, and y'all are going to go to the gathering.
I had gotten my ticket and ordered a hotel room, and I didn't know Nate was going to come at first. I told him I was going no matter what.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah, I think I had a job or something. I wasn't sure. I had to move some stuff around or something like that. And then I eventually, so he'd already had his plane ticket ordered, and I was like, well, let's try to get on the same plane. And that didn't work out, or it did work out, and then you changed it or something like that. But you ended up getting a ticket. We ended up flying separately. So he flew in, you met Alan, you were at the hotel.
And when I got to the hotel, Alan was like right there to meet me, and he was invited me in. We were talking about speedbagging. He took me out to dinner. It was awesome. I was like living in a dream, kind of. I was like, God, am I really with Alan Cahn right now, talking about speedbagging?
People don't realize that. People just don't realize. It's like hanging out with Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods or something. They just don't get it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's someone that you really, you spend so much time on the Speedbag, and now these people are in real life. This is Alan Cahn.
Yeah.
And he's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
And I just can't say enough good things about him.
He's a sweetheart of a man,
wonderful person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Brad had already been to dinner with the guy and everything, and then my flight wasn't until later. And I remember, like we were just talking about how big of a maze. I mean, I'm not.
I was texting Nate on how to conquer the maze of the Newark airport.
Get all that stuff. And I was so tired. I remember being so tired by the time I got there. I walked into the lobby, and there was Alan, and I was like, holy cow, there's Alan. This is so cool. But I was so
Me and Alan were sitting at a computer in the lobby, and he was showing me stuff online, and Nate walks in.
I walked in, and I met him for like 5 minutes, and I said, Brad, and Alan, I gotta go lay down for a minute. I wouldn't have been able to even have a conversation. I was awestruck, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I was so tired, I didn't want to just sound like a fucking mumbling fool, you know what I mean, talking to him. So
that's a rough flight coming from Seattle to Newark. I mean, it's a long flight.
Yeah.
But so then the next morning we got up, and I think we went to the real gym early before everybody else got there, and kind of helped set up, and got to meet Donnie, Alan gave us like the tour of like, hey, like he kind of took us in under his wing, like, hey, these are the guys that are the new up and coming guys, and
yeah, he pushed us up, and
right.
It was really cool.
It was
like you said, we met Donnie.
Donnie
was telling us stories about.
And Donnie is for people who've never been there and don't know, Donnie's the owner of the gym, and he is a mountain of a man. He is such a solid, just big muscle bound guy, but the
beast.
most gentle
Right.
handshake, just like, I mean,
Yeah.
guy is so nice. I just absolute heart of gold. Him, Alan, Tim Platt, all those guys. Just
Right.
it's like, how can you come up with a better group of dudes? I mean, seriously.
Right. So we're, we have all these things in our mind, like, ego driven guys that are so good at the bag, and we had all these preconceptions,
and we thought it was going to be at like a boxing gym that had a ring and all that kind of stuff.
So the first people
I did
we
too.
meet, the first people we met was Alan, of course, and then Donnie, and like you say, like just the biggest sweetheart, badass motherfuckers, but also sweethearts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I think, I don't know if it was like the third person, but then we see Matt over there, who is also like the biggest sweetheart of a guy also. So now we're just going, holy shit, all these people we know that we've seen that you think are a certain way or whatever, and then you meet them and they're like the exact opposite, no ego, no nothing. And that kind of just sparked the whole, but we always call it the Speedbag vibe, the vibrations of the whole place is just like, and everybody, I don't think anybody that we met.
It made it even that much better. Like, just learning how these people are, the kind of people they were, like, not what we expected, I don't think. Not that we expected.
Well, we kind of went there going, yeah, let's show off and let's show us how good we are so that maybe we can get in with some of these guys and hang out and be, and do something or make an impression of some sort, and then it was like, nah, man, this is just all cool, laid back. Everybody's cool. Everybody was impressed with what we were doing. We're like, no, man, we're impressed with what you guys are doing. You know what I mean? And it was just that whole environment that was just, it was sick.
And where the gym is at in Keyport, New Jersey, it's on a nice summer day. It is beautiful there. It's right on the ocean.
Yeah.
And
it's nice.
The gym is an old building.
It's not what you think of New Jersey. Like,
no.
when people hear New Jersey, they don't think of that, that it is a very quiet little town.
You sit there and you can see New York City, Manhattan, right out in front of you. I mean, it's absolutely awesome.
And the bagging area is up on the third floor. So you go, you've got these big giant windows up there, so you can see all the way across the water. And the cool thing is we're up there bagging and stuff. Like when I was there, and there's people up there on the treadmills. They have no care whatsoever about bagging. They're just up there on the treadmills. But so y'all's first experience meeting Alan and Skunk.
Skunk wasn't the first.
Oh, Skunk wasn't on the first one. That's right.
But one guy that was there that I don't think you ever met, Jeff, was John. Yeah. The guy that invented the Speed Demon.
No, I've heard of him. Yeah. No, I have not.
Another great, really nice guy that just, and I don't even think I ever saw him hit the speed bag.
No, he never hit the bag once.
But he was just into it and had the speed demon, which he created.
But super intelligent guy. I think he's a lawyer or something like that. Was just really into speed bagging and really just another guy that was just such a cool guy to be around. And like he's, but not about me and what I'm doing. Like I want to see you hit on the speed demon, and you know what I mean.
I think a lot of people that go there that aren't that good at speed bagging, they definitely have time on the speed bag, but they're a little apprehensive to bag in front of other people.
Oh yeah. I definitely saw moments like that. I don't, this past year in 24, I didn't spend a lot of time on the bag because I spent my time talking to a lot of people that came there specifically saying that I came to meet you, and so they watch all my instructional videos, and they feel a connection to me, you know. And so I feel like it was the least that I could do to pay them back, you know, like, you know, you've taken the time to watch my stories, I want to hear yours, you know. And so I the gathering it's a special place. It's a Skunk made the comment, I don't know if I want it to be any bigger than it is because it feels like a family, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
It being possibly moved, we'll see what the dynamics go with that, but you know, we're still Tim Platt
Well,
is
it's done at the real gym, right?
yeah, that's
It's
done.
over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's done.
So another thing is when we went there, a couple more people I'd like to shout out in a way that
Yeah.
we met was, you know, speaking of, well, there was G Town for one, who we, you know, all the art of the
Amazing.
bad guys,
G-Town.
Tommy T, G
Yeah.
Town, Jux. Jux is
Chuck's amazing.
the guy that he's
Never makes videos,
but he's that good though too, where he'll sit back and watch and not hit. And Brad and I think, because we'd seen Art of the Bag clips of it and whatnot, and we were like, holy cow, it's Jux, you know, like, man. And he's like, you guys are amazing, and you know, he's so quiet, but we're like, we want to see you hit, man. Like, come on, we had to talk him into going up and hitting the bag, you know what I mean? He's such a cool guy though, and man, the most amazing. He's one of, in my eyes, he's another GOAT, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. His skills are unmatched. Like,
I saw him bag maybe 3 minutes. Maybe.
yeah, he's one of those guys that's super good that
Yeah.
doesn't speedbag. I think some people have stage fright or something, and it just, you know,
And it
they just
is
don't
what
want
it
to
is.
do it. You know, speedbagging is a very personal thing because ultimately, when you're doing it, it's just you and the speedbag.
Mhm.
It's not anybody. It's not anybody else. And the most of the time that you spend it is just you and the speedbag. It's not with other people looking or. And so it's a very personal thing. I think for some people, they like to keep it that way.
Yeah, but when he got on the bag and started wailing on him, man, he's freaking badass, dude. Justin's, I think, his name, right? Yeah,
Jux,
yeah. Man, that's something to behold, to see him in person, you know. I mean, he was on the Art of the Bag, though, right? He was in the event.
Yeah.
And, you know, he did all that, which is cool. You know, so you'd think he would just want to jump on the bag and hit, but he kind of had to talk him into it a little bit. And once he got on there, man, he could make that bag sing, man.
That's
incredible.
One thing about me and Nate, when we were learning to hit the speed bag, we didn't really have much influence from other places other than seeing people's videos. We never did get the Speedbag Bible. Watched a couple tutorials of Alan teaching a few different moves, but we basically blazed our own trail.
It shows. Y'all definitely. I've said it. You both have a very unique style that is common between the two of you, but at the same time, y'all have different styles. I would say Nate was the first person that I saw kill doubles. Like, and I had seen plenty of people do doubles, but I saw Nate doing a doubles thing, and I was like, dude, like that just like totally effortless. I mean, just the way that he's just, I'm just like, I can't even do that. I don't even know how to hit my hand that hard, make them stop. And you're coming from all directions with doubles like that. And then it was one of those humbling moments where I'm like, yep, again, another notch of I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Well,
that happens multiple times through your speedbag journey.
Yeah. With the speedbag, with the bump and doubles too, was something I seen from, I think it was Matt Adaraxis doing the elbow bump and doubles, or what I hit the boom boom bam, like, you know, you do elbow
double elbow single fist.
So I was like, man, we were trying to figure that out. I was trying to learn that, and then was like, well, what about just hitting with my fist, because I can't do it with the elbows like he can do. And then I started hitting like just straight forward, straight back, straight forward, straight back, and that's another philosophy that we have is like, oh, okay, if you could do it with your right hand, do it with your left hand. If you could do it this side, do it this side. If you could, you know, like be equal all around the bag. But then, so there's that philosophy. But then I started realizing when you hit bump and doubles, And when you start learning them, forward, back, side to side, like any move that you can think of or any move that's out there, whatever, if you just try doing them bumping doubles, if you just put an extra hit in there, you might not you might not get the bumping part down that great, but when you go back to doing the regular move, it's easier. And so that was kind of a trick that I learned. Like, so I think the philosophy or whatever the phrase was, bump everything, try to bump and doubles every move that you can. And so I kind of took that to heart, and I was doing that. And so what you saw was that, was me just the few moves that I did get down with that was that, but that was what I was kind of preaching, I guess, in videos or saying in my own mind, at least, so, but that was just one trick. We had like many tricks, with that. And we would always think that we had that, to do to come up with moves and whatnot.
To me, that was always a very important thing when we were learning how to hit the speed bag. This goes back to the beginning when we started doing tricks. If you learn how to do something forward, you learn how to do that in reverse if it's possible. If you learn how to do something on your right side, you learn how to do it on your left side and front and back. So all the way around, I really
balance.
really
I try
put
to
that
stress there
on.
is no dominant arm when you speed bag.
Right. And like a lot of the times when you come up with new moves, it's your dominant arm that kind of catches it quicker.
Yeah.
And what I learned is that you really pay attention exactly where the speed bag hits on your arm or your elbow whenever you're doing a move. Really pay attention exactly where it hits. So then when you go to your non-dominant arm, you can replicate that. And it makes it a lot easier. I learned it makes it a lot easier to get a move down with your non-dominant arm.
One of the things that I preach to the guys that I teach, one, I do like to see them start Instagram accounts just so they can be part of the community, because I'm always trying to get the community to go, But the other is to record yourself, not only record yourself, but watch yourself. Watch yourself, study what you're doing, and compare it to the guys that you want to look like. If your arms are not moving like theirs, figure it out why. I mean, some people never watch their own videos, and I'm like, your mind's eye sees you speed bagging one way. The camera's eye sees it another way. And the guys who start recording and really studying their film first, I feel like those guys, it's almost like a cheat code. It is a way that helps you identify your problems quicker and faster than just trying to do it through your mind's eye.
Yeah, at first I would use the video before I even put a video out on YouTube, because that was the first place I put a video. I would just video myself and like try to compare. Okay, am I good enough to even think about putting a video on YouTube? Or I would just compare it to other people's videos and be like, no, not there yet. No, not there yet.
Who was your main people you'd compare yourself to?
Probably Matt.
Yeah, of course.
And a lot of people do that. They're like, I will post when I'm good enough. I'm like, no. Just
that's how
start
it was.
now. Start now. And I encourage them, start now, because the other people who are bad, who are afraid to post, they go, oh, there's somebody else who's as bad as I am, and it makes them more comfortable. Just like we've talked about posting videos where you mess up. I get thanked by people. They're actually like, man, it's actually nice to see somebody screw up.
Right. Yeah, because so many videos where you make 10, 20, 30 videos, you screw up once and you're like, oh no, can't use that one. And you just spend like an hour wearing yourself out and frustrating yourself, trying not to make a mistake. And then you almost, if you can't just flow on the speed bag, it almost makes it harder. And you just find yourself in this,
oh man, your arms are getting tired.
Yeah,
and you're like, I'm hellbound. You're forcing it. Yeah. Yeah. It's
like,
Skunk,
this, man.
Skunk nailed it when he's like, he said, yep, 36 takes later. Yep. Do this every day. Perfect every time,
Right.
and
that's how you want to make it look,
It is.
It was back in the day too, like when all the videos we ever saw, no one ever made mistakes.
Right. So you're trying to compare yourself to them. You're like, man, I don't have a perfect L slam at the end. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they didn't mess up once. So the example they had set was so ridiculous that it's like, how do you even do that? So you're making. And I personally had a problem where if I could hit pretty well. I would do pretty well hitting, and then the second I turned the camera on, excuse me, it would be a whole nother ballgame. I'd start hitting, and I'd mess up. Like, dang, man, I got so. So then I'd restart the song or whatever, just start hitting again, and then I mess up. Like, damn, I mess up again, damn. Like, so then I that was the reason why I didn't post nearly as much, because I never could get a good straight video with no mess ups, or not just a single mess up, because that's not that big a deal, but repeated over and over, mess up, to where it wasn't postable, really,
Yeah.
But so the few that I did post were rare occasions where I could pull something together, but rarely could I ever get one where it was all the way to the finish and like finish well, you know what I mean? Like, that's a tough deal.
And one of the things that we have to deal with as speedbackers is we like to bag with music in the background, and so we have to deal with our videos getting blocked as we're uploading. So you started making your own beats for some of your songs, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. We were having the same problem with copyright issues with some of the songs, and they weren't posting them.
Eminem is particularly bad.
It's tough.
You can't put any Eminem videos on, at least on YouTube.
I had my little laptop out and downloaded some DJ app or something like that, where it's all set up, like sounds and everything. It wasn't like, oh, I'm an artist and can make music, really. It was all set up, just lay a beat down, a drum line, then a bass line, and then then a hook, or then a whatever, just started layering stuff in. But what I did learn a lot by doing that, because you learn like how many beats per minute that you can actually hit to and whatnot, because that's on the app. It shows you, okay, 120 beats per minute in Epidemic, yeah. That was just a music app. That wasn't.
It had tons of beats. I never made
that was,
but
those were
a lot of my songs that you see on Instagram are all from Epidemic.
Okay.
It's a non-copyright issue songs that
you can download. I think I paid like a monthly fee for it to have it, just so I could have beats that I knew weren't going to get hit with a copyright.
But forever we'd go through all these Epidemic songs that you're allowed to play online or whatever. But so but we're able to eliminate so many of those songs by, okay, this is 170 beats per minute. Okay, this one's going to be too fast. 110 beats. Okay, this one's going to be too slow. Then that narrowed it down to like, okay, between 120, 130, 140 is right in that range. But plus that also like revolutionized, well, for us and for me, I guess, was the 3-hit combos, like, just 3-hit combinations. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 were moves that would, or combinations that would fit into these songs, that were within these beats per minute. All that was like a learning process that we kind of figured out ourselves just by sampling around and messing around with this stuff. And then it kind of revolutionized new combinations that people haven't really, I mean, I'm sure it's hard to say that, oh yeah, that moves we came up with, when there's, they're pretty simple moves that are combinations that people probably have done, but, that you try to lay claim to, but, you get flack from that on the internet when you're saying, oh, I came up with this move, but.
We'll take advantage of the one video that I know that we can play and share if you want to. Because what you're talking about, is this what's about to play in this video? Is this the 3 beats that you're talking about?
And that's where the bump and double comes in too, because that's bum bum boom. That's three.
Is that those are those 3?
That's it. Yeah, 3 hits. And
that's Epidemic music.
Those doubles are sick, man. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I watched this video. Seriously. And even with the mistakes, I know we're all like, "Oh, look at there, 2 of them."
No,
It's like,
right. Now,
but
rarely would I get through a video without
It's badass.
But that's bump and doubles applied to the 3-hit combination to the music, and that was probably about 140 beats per minute, I'd say, something like that. That was usually
somewhere in that range.
But for sure,
yeah, I loved. I'm telling you, man. I remember when it popped up, and that was also when y'all started. That's when y'all built the room, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
that's when y'all built the room.
Yeah, so
Nate built it.
So I ended up, because I was living out here on the property at Brad's place, and then I built the shed that was the Speedbag.
The tent had to come down.
Right, the tent was just too much. It was too much.
You burned it up, right?
She was worn out. Well, she'd been through a couple fires.
So I framed. I used to build shed, like backyard sheds, with my brother years and years ago. And so I was like, well, let's just build a little studio. I'll build a shed out in the back for it, where nobody can hear what's going on. I insulated it real well, put sheetrock up, and then we were able to hang our new platforms up. And here, well, it started out hanging up the same glue lamp beam was the first one we hung up in the beginning, and then so many people saw that in the tent, and then when we hung it up in here,
it was massive. I know y'all had to have. I mean, I can only imagine the messages of people that were oohing and on over that drum. That thing was massive.
Right, where can we get that drum at? Where did you get it from? Da 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 da. So we're like, oh well, people like these things. Let's make some of these. They're pretty simple. If you just buy a glue lamp beam, we ended up buying the first ones we bought were glue lamp beams that were 24 inches tall by 4 feet or whatever. We could cut it in half, so it was 24 by 24. And then so that's when we started doing when we started shocking them, doing the fractal burning too. But at first we just had the beam or just the platform without it being shocked yet, and then later on that came about.
First Nate had created the first laminated beam platform, and I was like, we gotta make some new ones of those.
Well, he was getting people complimenting on when he was hitting on it, saying, "Oh, the same thing." Where'd you? I love that setup. Like, so then I get it too. Then we decided to make them, and
I think we made them first, and the fractal burning came.
The fractal burning. That just played for. I actually popped up. Let me see if I can get it to do that again. I know where we are, 27 minutes. Okay, playing live. So this is the fractal burning.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah. Yep. And basically what you're doing is taking a transformer out of a powerful as you can find microwave and hooking that straight up to a plug-in and then running the wires out of the transformer. And you take baking soda and water, and you have the 2 electrodes, and you hit the power, and it tries to connect itself. And through doing that, it burns the wood. They're called Lichtenberg machines. They're extremely dangerous. I don't know if I'd recommend anyone buying them because it will, or using one or building one, because it will kill you. The way that we have it set up is a double safety on it. One person is holding the wire that actually connects into the extension cord, and they're the ones that control that. And then we have a handle that has a button on it that when you pull your finger off the button, it turns it off automatically. And before we shock it, we're like, clear, and then we plug it in the extension cord, and then I say, shocking.
Yeah, you see those blocks there too. We had a little bit of experimentation because you would get it all set up to where your points are on the block, and then you go to burn, and one would slip off, and everything's plugged in, and you're kind of freaking out, like, oh shit, So then you let go of the trigger, unplug it, and then go. So then we started figuring out to place the blocks on top of them. I mean, there's better ways, I guess, to do it, but that was just our way of hands-free, not coming close to touching those things. Because we heard stories of people.
Well, yeah, my dad was the first person that I saw. He had built one, and he had gotten shocked by it twice, and he threw his original one away. And that was like
Either one of y'all get popped?
Never. No. I mean, he told me when he got shocked, it took him to the floor, and he thought that if he had touched it any longer, it would have killed him.
Yeah, it was so cool. The pieces that he was making was cool. I don't know what exactly he was doing it for, but I remember.
I think he was just experimenting.
Yeah, but it was so cool looking. We're like, man, let us fuck with this thing, you know. And he's like,
and
no.
We did it though.
He's like, nah, we don't want. I don't want you touching these things because he had shocked himself a couple times. But remember the setup that he had there was a light that he put on it for his safety, but it was opposite. So when the light was on, it was disconnected or something like that. Yeah. And we're like, okay, well, we're going to do this. We better get a couple safety features in this thing that are a little better than what he has set up, you know.
But, so I came up with that, with the button, and then someone add the actual connection in case the button failed,
or in case somebody started getting shocked or something, you could unplug. Yeah. Just disconnect the entire thing.
The person on the main switch on the plug-in stood well away, so there was no chance of
right, because his dad had a setup where he just had like a light switch to turn it on and it was hot, and then turn it off, and it was set up like opposite, not the button that would release automatically, and not somebody there going on off like as a backup also.
Right.
But
now, Brad, you have a drum that you've burnt in front of you, right? Like you've got one. So this is what it looks like, not necessarily finished, but sanded after being scorched, right?
And this drum is actually made from a maple tree that I cut down on the property, and so this is a little different than the ones we.
So this one is this one had been shocked, but we also were learning to inject color into the shock. So all the ones that we had made were just the actual.
Yeah, some chainsaw marks on the back.
So that was actually one of the first setups he had.
This
remember that one.
This is like the drum that if you look at my older videos, this is the drum that I'm always hitting on.
The center there was all dug out, and there's screw holes and everything.
Yeah, so from recessing it, letting the ball.
Well, that one wasn't recessed, but the ball would create a hole.
And from some unscrewing and screwing in so many different swivels.
Right.
There were so many holes there that we really burnt that middle part out really well, so we could cover that up. And then we filled on this one. We filled in the shocks with colored epoxy.
Right. We bought syringes, big syringes that you could fill with color. We bought a bunch of different colors. Like, I don't know, like 50 different colors that you know all about that, of course. And then we just inject throughout the shocks, throughout the fractal burns on the thing, which we never did. I would love to epoxy that one to see what the finished product looked like. But
definitely will.
Yeah. I think that's one of those processes that's probably very similar to the processes with resin. I got it and was like, well, this is going to be easy. And what I thought of, hey, I'm just going to do this deep pour resin. Then I'm going to do a top coat, and it's all going to be like, I'm going to do it all right my very first try. That's got to be the same. Like, hey, we're going to be able to do this. And then like, there had to have been a large trial and error with that.
For sure. I mean, that
learning curve.
Just the color. I mean, the sign in the back, which you can't see that well because the letters are big. That one, it was oak for one, and it didn't burn as well as the maple or the glue lamb, which is fir.
Well, so like the density of the wood's going to affect how it burns.
Absolutely. Not just density, the grain too, also in it, would affect it. Yeah. But it did look cool. And that one actually was injected with a blue coloring that's behind it. And it would be cool, and that was going to be the first actual glue lamp beam that we were going to do. was with blue that I wanted to do was with the blue. This was kind of just an experiment with gold and silver. I was just trying to like, I thought that'd have been a cool look, you know, but yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
they're beautiful drums.
oh, thank you. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we took a lot of pride in that and we thought they were cool too, you know. Plus it's a lot of scary, dangerous, you know, artistic work that goes into all that. That was like, you know, people don't even just realize they look kind of cool. So you don't even know how many times this thing could kill you, you know, over and over. Just how many, every shock you do, and there's probably 50, 60 shocks in every one or whatever.
The amount of sanding. I mean, I imagine there's a ton of sanding that comes with that.
Yeah. So when they get, if you see the, I don't know, the picture that you showed didn't really show it, but by the time you're done shocking those, the drum is basically black from all the charcoal from the fire.
Yeah,
because it basically you know, it's burnt.
You don't see what you don't see what you got until you start.
Yeah, and you have to sand all of it. It takes a long time, and then all the baking soda that you use to create that electric field, that you have to sand that out too, or else you can see the baking soda
and blow it out. You got to get it out because you'll see it through your epoxy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Then you have to blow out all the char, because if you're pouring epoxy, that the charcoal will get in the epoxy. So you have to take a blower and blow all the shock marks out. So it's just
and wire brush the char.
You
don't have to. Yeah. You can. It's just a little easier. I mean, you could get more bubbling with the char. You know,
well, it makes a mess too. Like, if you start brushing that stuff on there, you get little pieces of black everywhere.
Yeah. Well, so you guys started. When do you feel like? And what I refer it to is I think a lot of people do is insanity style. I mean, it was when you popped back up in 2020 towards
when we met you. That's
in 2021 was when we met, July 21. And I remember it was because Alfred Gabelli and we had sent you a message. It was when you were doing the windshield wiper or half windshield wiper, you know, and we just could not figure out what in the hell you were doing. You're like, you sent me this video. You're like, oh, it's a 3-punch move. It's just like this. It's like this. It's like this. It's like this. It's like, I was just like, oh, it's just like this. Yeah. It's just like this.
Yeah. Oh,
Brad, I was like, yeah, it's just like, it's easy. Yeah. It's easy, bro.
It's just this, you know.
It's just like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say that Brad probably pioneered the insanity. I mean, obviously we both kind of worked into it, but I definitely want to say that he was the one that kind of projected that a lot more in insanity.
You actually came up with the very first move that got me like onto.
So it was me.
Well, it was the back. It was the back, and then side. Going back towards you. So it's a 3 beat. So you got it 1, 2, 3, all on a single rebound.
But it became more than just a single combination. We thought of, when we say insanity, you're thinking of just one move. Like, to us, it was more like a philosophy or whatever that we.
For me, it was a flow. I didn't see it as one move. Right. I saw it. When somebody asked me one time, they said, because I had made this comment, I was like, freestyle versus Bible style. Okay. And the thing is, this is just like dance. We don't have just dance. There's jazz. I mean, there's ballet, there's tap, there's multiple levels of what we do. Right. And this guy asked me, he goes, what's the difference between freestyle and Bible style? I said, when you watch Alan Cahn do what he does, you know that is Bible style. It is straight, just fixed on the beat. It is Alan Cahn style. And when you watch Brad Bachmann, you can tell it's not.
Yeah,
they're both equally kick ass. Okay, they are both amazing, but they are not the same. They're just not the same.
And not to take anything away from any other hit, but like the Insanity is a very like high technicality hitting the speed bag.
It is. It's on a whole nother level. It's actually why I tell people I really enjoy teaching beginner baggers. I love it. I mean, I seriously love getting them to the point where I can go, here's Brad and Nate. You know, just like here
you
you
sent
go.
me a few people.
Yeah. You know, and you know,
I'm always more than happy to teach anybody.
Oh, if they want to learn, I tell you, guys, like just in the past year, guys like Orion Kreinen, that guy won the fist roll. He'd only been bagging a year, and he won the fist roll this past year. You know, that's impressive. I mean, that's
Zach actually, or Zach?
What's it? No, Zach was exhibition.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I know, right? Everybody's like,
how many hits was it?
527.
Oh shit, Brad did that. You had above 600, didn't you?
Yeah, 600.
Yeah,
600.
it's not. I mean, Zach only did 555. I say only 555, but he stopped with about 9 seconds left to go. I mean, he definitely would have been over 600.
Here's something I have to say too. I want to interject this. We always considered the hand roll the real competition, and I'm talking the hand roll competition.
Yeah.
Over.
Now,
not
this.
This was something we thought of.
Agreed.
You know,
and when Lance, I do know that when Lance and I were there, that we did make that separation. That we're like, and this past year when we did the actual cash prize, because that's what Orion won, was the cash prize. You know, it was hand over hand.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I always trained specifically for that leading up to the Speedbag event. I mean, I would have 10-pound weights in my hands, and
speaking of training,
this for as long as you can.
Yeah.
Just getting ready for the event so I could do that. And a lot of times they wouldn't have just the hand roll. It was kind of disappointing, but it sounded like you had it last year.
So Brad would use 10-pound weights and whatnot. I came up with these. These are rebar. It's just like 11. It's number 11 rebar chunks.
Yeah.
That I had from a job site that I cut into.
Hold them in your hand.
So I can hold them in my hand.
Dude, do you use those when you're doing those doubles? Because sometimes it looks like you're hitting with bricks. I'm like, how in the hell does he hit so hard and his hands barely move? No, I'm just that bad. I'm just that bad.
I mean, I probably did, to be honest. But like I was saying, that's just basically for when we were training to try to go and kick Zach's ass at the hand roll competition is what those are for. But
anybody's ass. Just be the fastest.
For sure. But absolutely, and that was something I would use all the time. Brad didn't like them because they had hurt the back of his hand.
They hurt my pinky. Like the way I would hold it would smash my pinky joint every time I do an outside hit, and I just like, fuck that.
But for sure, it's just another way that, another technique or another trick or whatever we try to, to do things. Training with weights, like
that's what I had those 10-pound weights in my hand, and I would be just emulating all the different speed bag moves that I would do, and I think that helped a lot.
But so this was a way to have the weights in your hand and hit the bag, So emulating with the weights is one way, but to actually, I was always like, well, how can we actually like do this with hitting the bag, So that was one way. And those things would probably, I don't know, a few ounces or whatever, but it makes a difference for sure. It's heavy. It's hard,
Makes your fist harder.
Let me see if I can get this one.
It's like having brass knuckles in your hands.
I'm going to see if I can get this one to play. This was one of the coolest videos that I had seen y'all do. Dude, this is the future of Speedbag for me. I mean, this is eventually we're going to start seeing more of this. The problem, in my opinion, is that we Speedbagging it's an individual sport, but that right there, in my opinion, that's the future of Speedbag.
Yeah, we tried that. We did that video, but for the longest time we were practicing. Remember, we were going through different moves.
Yeah, we were trying to come up with a synchronized, transitioning from this move to this move. Yeah,
double side punch to 4-way continuous elbows.
Mhm.
I can't remember
Mhm.
all the different.
I can't remember either, but we were trying to get it to where we could make a video like that where we were hitting the same moves at the same time. And we ended up learning a lot from doing that because, you know, what you think somebody's transitioning from a side double punch to a whatever four-way continuous or whatever, like I would go to, okay, this is the move. We're going to start with this move, then this move, then this move. Well, when we go to transition between moves, he transitioned different than I transitioned. And we're like, wait, why are we off beat all of a sudden? Why is everything out? And then we're like, okay, we'll slow it down, back it up, figure it out. Okay, when you're hitting here, I'm hitting here. When it comes back, I'm hitting here for the next move. He's hitting here, whatever. You know,
and in the transition, it would be hitting from different points of the move, off of different parts, and it kind of blew my mind. I was like,
Just those little details, those
Yeah.
little
Right.
details.
that kind of opens your mind up to how intricate and crazy speedbagging is. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another level to try to hit exactly the same as somebody else. You know,
I
even though as much as we hit the same all the time and learning the same moves and whatever, like that was a whole different learning experience.
yeah, that really blew my mind actually when I discovered that, because I thought, you know, because we'd always been around each other hitting.
This will be easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was just about memorizing what moves to hit at what time. But then it's like, no, man, it's not that easy. Like, you got to really figure it out. And you'll never get that from somebody who's, if you're on a video call with somebody else, you just can't do that. You know, that was
No,
something
it's
that
got to be in person.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
got to be in person. That's why I've tried telling people recently that I feel like the way that this is really going to grow is it's going to have to start in the schools. And I've got a formula of how I want to do that, but I really feel like it's gonna have to get into school, and it's gonna be for those kids that aren't the everyday sports jockeys. They're the skaters. They're the kids that they don't fall into everything else. They're gonna find this. They're gonna hear that, just like Alan did when he was in college. He heard that beat coming down the hallway, and it just infected him. It brought him in, and that's 100% where I feel like it's going to have to happen. It's going to have to happen that way. It's going with the youth, and we got to, because the sad thing is I get so many 70-year-old guys who reach out to me. I love your videos, man. And I'm like, I would kill for like as many 16-year-olds going, I love this stuff, because that means that, we've got these people coming up with it, because like I say about
for life, you get
oh
them
yeah,
when they're young. Yeah. Which is
you've worked with Elbert, Speedbag Bert. You've worked with Speedbag B. You've worked with
I never worked with Bert. Yeah.
Bert.
I thought
Yeah,
you
you
said
did.
Albert.
No, Elbert.
Yeah,
Elbert.
Kevin
Williams. I mean, just, dude,
um,
compared to, like, I feel like even when I started 5 years ago, the talent that's out there right now, and I know y'all aren't on social media a whole lot, but the talent that's out there is just it's coming unglued, man. And they're just doing stuff that we thought was impossible, but they see all your videos as like, no, that's normal. So now they think that's normal, and I'm like, you don't realize that's not normal.
Right. We always pay homage to what we call the OGs, right? So Zach and all those guys.
They were hitting before we started hitting.
We considered ourselves the next generation of whatever, and now there's another generation of people that's just, you know what I mean?
And they get better and better as it,
right.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, watching some of these guys that have only been hitting for a few months and they're already making these videos with, some of our moves, some of the art of the bag, some of the Bible moves and all that. It's cool. It's cool to see. But for sure, what you're talking about with the schools and all that, man, that's, like, how do we do that? How does that get done? Like, how do you reach the kids? How do you make it cool?
Right.
To where they want to start doing it,
At first, when me and Nate were hitting it, we've always had a very friendly competition between the two of us, like
with whatever
forever.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, figuring out like how to get as good as we can. Now, the way I kind of think is I just really want to share what I know of the speed bag and how to hit with everybody, and just try to grow the sport as much as possible.
not just showing off in a video, but to try to reach people by doing that. And he's done that a lot more with instructionals and all that kind of thing. There was something we were going to do for a while, is do instructional videos. I don't know if we ever got into that, because it was always
Did a few.
Yeah, I did a couple. And we should have done more with the moves that we quote unquote came up with. I gotta say that, because a lot of people don't think that we came up with it. It's hard. It's a hard thing. But the instructional thing would have been. We should do some more of those, and we could do. Brad has done quite a few,
not
very few, I guess, but that's one way. Just I don't know. I mean,
well, it's one of those things that every video is a small. It's just one more small rung that somebody has out there to grab onto to find the love that we love so much. It's just one thing to go. For a lot of us, it was the Mystery Man. That's where a lot of people were just found this whole new, like, whoa. It wasn't. I didn't stumble across Alan first. I stumbled across Skunk first. And then I had been bagging for 6-7 months before I even saw a video of you. It wasn't something that was real accessible, and I just tried to make it to where I was as friendly and nice and like tried to greet every new bagger with open arms, like, I love you. Do you want to talk Speedbag? That's why Brad and I hit it off so well. The first time that we talked was like 3 hours on the phone one night over Speedbag stuff for just 3 hours. Like, how can you do that? No, when you are this passionate about something, for whatever it is that just makes us obsessed over this silly little ball, that we really are. It's more than just something we do. It's more. It's actually who we are.
I think a lot of people are apprehensive to like reach out to me to ask me how to do anything, because they don't feel like they're good enough or whatever. But if you get to know me, I'm a very open person, and love to teach speedbagging to anybody that wants to learn.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reciprocated throughout the whole family of all the Speedbag community. You know what I mean? Everybody is shockingly nicer than you would think they would if you just would reach out and get in touch with them. I mean, you're on another level. I mean, you've taken this sport into a whole nother atmosphere just doing what you're doing. I mean, nobody runs, well, at least back when I was looking and back when you first started, like, making connections with people and facilitating this and that and this and that. Hey, go look at this guy, don't just look at my videos, look at this guy doing this and this guy doing that, you know what I mean? And that's a great thing, man. That's special.
Absolutely.
Speedbag concierge.
And we appreciate it, right? It's another level, man. You really appreciate that you've been able to do what you've done, not just with the Evos in
the wonderful products you come up with, and getting the Jim Bradley bags here, like my favorite speed bag to hit on.
They're amazing.
It used to be the Roni bags, but when you got those smaller Jim Bradley bags, it's like,
right, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that we hit on those Jim Bradley bags way back when, and we were like, man, these are awesome, but they were too long. And they're always too long and too big, right?
Yeah.
And then we're like, well, what do? We can't do anything about it. This is how he makes them. Well, you go on to, well, let's get a hold of the guy and let's
make a smaller one.
Yeah, let's make a smaller one. Okay, now let's cut the neck off, and now let's make it shorter. And it's like, boom, and then you come up with, what's that bag called? The
grenade.
The grenade. Yeah. Oh my God, that's a sick.
You're giving us feedback exactly what we want,
right?
And you do a great job at it.
Right? I appreciate it.
Instead of us having to actually cut the thing and then try to to set things right.
We got the evolution of
we're
Thrasher Swivels.
You've got that. You've got oh my gosh,
fans.
That's awesome. One of them
grab that one. Yeah, grab that. That's the very first one you ever sent me, Jeff.
Handwritten. That's awesome.
Number one.
Number one.
Nobody
it even says it.
Yeah, even
right.
So,
Even engraved on the bottom.
2/1/2021.
Man, that's awesome. That was the day it was born.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
wrote on the box. So excited to watch you go to town with this beast.
Man.
It's an honor. I can't read your handwriting, bro.
That you want to use Evo 13 #1. Bang on, brother.
Yeah,
man.
there you go.
That was
Dude,
sick.
But all of these are just wonderful swivels.
the first time that I saw you use one, I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. Yeah, because for me, like even with Skunk using one of my swivels, like you guys are people that I it's just like you and Ataraxis, y'all are just like, oh my God, Alan Cahn, oh my God, Juxt, oh my God. Yeah. And for y'all are that for me that to see y'all use the stuff that I've poured my heart into that and y'all give them raving reviews, and talk about brilliant like product testers. Y'all have great feedback and you're going to beat the shit out of those things. And that's what I need. I need to know, will this thing take a professional speed bagger go into town on this thing? My earlier models, no. Those
did have one that did break on us, but
that one, the double, and that's because I didn't
on me.
Yep. But that's
you
because
know
I
what
didn't.
You did. Yeah.
Yep. I screwed up. I fixed that.
It's still a wonderful swivel though. Like,
yeah. I love
it's
it.
just
They're just like y'all's drums. They're just like y'all's bagging styles. It is just what's here today. We thought for a minute we all invented a lot of this stuff, and we're always adding our twist and our salt and pepper and all that stuff to it. But people have been doing this a long time, and our hope is that 100 years from now that we got people sitting around watching this in Speedbag theory class. You're like, man, these were the guys who started the first podcast on Speedbagging. That's I'm telling you, I'm telling it to the universe. Gong. And it's out there. So, but we're at another hour chewed away, and we haven't even gotten into the deep stuff yet. So that's gonna have to wait for the next episode,
we
y'all.
Haven't even gotten to the second Speedbag event where we met you yet.
I know. So, we've got this is
and where we met Zach and all them, which is a whole nother atmosphere. Like, man,
I know.
We're gonna have to do this again for sure.
Yeah. And I love that I figured out how to get the videos to play, even though they don't act like they're going to. But I figured out, hey, we'll work on that next time. So, but guys, I love it. Thank you very much.
Wonderful talking to you, Jeff.
Is there anything that if there's a new dude out there that you could just simplest thing of like, hey, what can you tell somebody who's struggling right now?
Keep on bagging.
Yeah, man. I mean, if there's anything I could say is, everybody has their own style. Everybody has their own speed. Everybody has their own build. Like a body type makes a difference. Like, it doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter how cool somebody looks and you want to look that cool. I mean, you could try and emulate them the best and you're going to kind of end up like how we are. Like, we emulated people and we ended up making our own moves up just on accident in a way, like just hit and do what you can do and be, and what comes up is what comes up. You'll fall in love no matter what. You know what I mean? Just keep bagging.
And I would say probably don't. This is the way I did it. I never got complacent with hitting the speed bag. I never felt like I was, okay, I got this good, now I'm here. I always kept the pressure on myself to keep learning new stuff constantly and to keep the evolution of your journey keep going. Just never stop learning. And if something's hard, keep on doing it. As long as you don't have an injury or anything preventing you from doing that specific thing, keep on doing it until you get it, because you'll get it. And in that journey between trying it and getting it, you will learn new moves.
Absolutely.
Figuring it out. So just keep the pressure on, and that's
don't give up. It's a perfect analogy for a life lesson. You know what I mean? Just keep trying,
and get used to making mistakes.
Yeah, you're gonna mess up. It's gonna be hard, but it's just like life, right? Just keep burning through it, and you'll be better on the other end for it. And you'll come out. And if you can, eventually you'll be hitting before you know it. and people are soon like amazingly fast and quick learning.
Yeah.
And I'd say don't ever feel like you've reached the pinnacle.
Yeah, it's never ending. Speedbag
It never ends.
I mean,
No.
you think everybody's come up with every move, and they haven't. But it's not even about that. You know, just do it, do your own thing, and do what you're capable of doing, and you'll enjoy it, and you'll fall in love, and it'll be, you know, it'll do what it did with us. It'll do what it did with you. I mean,
and if you have a buddy that you can hit with that's good, that helps too. Like
so
in
much.
person. I would
much.
say that
if you don't,
none of this would have happened.
If you don't, get a hold of Brad, get a hold of me, get a hold of Jeff, get a hold of anybody, get a hold of Alan. Don't be afraid to get a hold of somebody because, you know,
you can tell we're pretty open people. I'm going to start making a few more videos on Instagram, and anybody feel free to reach out to me.
Guys, I love it. I can't wait to have you guys on again. And next time we'll bring on Skunk or somebody, and we'll talk about that first time that you guys met. That'll be a fun one. So
that'd be
awesome, guys. I appreciate it so much. I can't wait to have you guys on the next one. Thanks,
Thank
y'all.
you,
Thank you.
It's creation and expression.
It's not something you see a ton of people doing. It's unique. It makes you feel special.
You almost become the bag. The beat is so engaging, it takes you over. You just get caught up in it.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's so many different walks of life. All these people from all these different walks of life coming together, and none of that matters really.
There's nothing you have to remember. It's just instinct. Once you get the basic punches down, your hands just go.
You can, with a little bit of practice, do things that would amaze the average person.
The minute you hit that bag, I'll guarantee you'll be addicted just as I am.